So, welcome to the 1871 podcast. It's me, Johnny Hunt, in charge tonight as we have Dylan's on his way to a match. Mark is unwell, but unlike match of the day, we've managed to drag in a substitute. So, welcome, Union, to the team.
Hello. Yep.
Big Reading fan. And also, our special guest this evening, we've got Noel Hunt with us. Evening, Noel. How are you?
Evening, guys. Yeah, really good. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us in your training gear. Even had a chance for a shower before you start.
Yeah, I know. I'm only in the door.
Really appreciate it. So to start off with, obviously, me presenting is going to be fun. I've got kids running around in the background, so if you hear noise, I do apologise. But firstly, there's a couple of quizzes we've had this week that have come to the national attention, well, attention of us anyway. So there was a poll about the favourite hunt of the 1871 podcast. And seeing there's only three of us, really, there's Noel, there's Stephen, and myself. As it stands, Noel is clearly winning. Stephen is second, and I'm in the bronze medal place, which I'm sure you'll be happy with that, Noel, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Johnny, but you're still on the podium. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's it. I'm clutching the straws, but I'll take third behind you two any day.
No,
there's also another. Well, we had another quiz as well last week, which was about however many questions that Mark devised that went public, and we had I was actually winning that as well for about 2 minutes, and then sadly fell down the table. But we did have a winner, a guy called Chris Bennett, who's a massive Reading fan, and he's got a question for you, Noel, about one of our favourite days. So if I go ahead, so 21st of April 2012, we drew 2-2 with Crystal Palace. He said he was at the game, and afterwards he went to the Walkabout pub, which I think most of the Reading fans did to celebrate. When Southampton lost after we played. He said later on he walked on to the After Dark nightclub, is that, I'm guessing, down detouring through Yield Hall Place between the Oracle and London Street, where he spotted you and Jason Roberts sorting out a taxi. I ran up saying to you and shook hands, ran up saying champion and shook hands with both you. So I'd like to ask you, what were your memories of that day? This is his question.
I remember the memories of the day. Am I right in saying Robert got sent off in the game? Did Robbo get sent off in that game?
That was our first sending off that season, wasn't it? Our only sending off.
Was it?
Something daft like that, wasn't it?
I remember him coming. I remember Robbo running across to get across the boy, and he's caught him with his elbow. And I ended up out on the left wing in that game because it was just needs must. I think we were backs against the walls a little bit, and I remember like I was only speaking about this last night with Brian McDermott and Michael Ledgerwood. We had a great chat with the coaches. Jamie Greenwood, head of coaching, put on an unbelievable little thing in the stadium for all the coaches part-time and whatnot, brought everybody together. And we talked about the times of Reading past and whatnot, and the academy, how it was, how there's still people there from there today that were there back then. So we were reminiscing all this last night, and we're talking about the game. And I remember I ended up, like, I think there's a ball in the top half of the pitch that I was just trying to keep up in there. So I ended up like stumbling over, falling, but I ended up trying to put my head in the ball, got caught with a knee on the side of my head. I remember the guy had caught me with a gat, like, so he gashed me, he caught me, and it split open. And I thought, I can't be going off now because we're down to 10 men already. So I remember getting away with it for about 15 minutes. But like, I ended up having to get a stitch after it, just above my eye. And obviously, it's not major. It's just a little. It's a thin part of your eyelid where your eye socket gets caught. So when you nick it, it does open, like so. But I remember getting away with it for about 15 minutes. So trying to hide it from the line on one side, then trying to hide it from the ref, going down past the halfway line and stuff. And we got away with it. And I remember going out that night. I think we had a young doctor at the time stitch me up, and because of the game was on, obviously I think Middlesbrough played. It was Middlesbrough that played, wasn't it? Southampton.
Yeah.
And I remember when they got the free kick, Middlesbrough, and I said to the boys, he's going to score this, because the lad, I can't remember his name, was it Zamama? It was something with a Z. But I'd played against him in Scotland, and he was an unbelievable free kick taker. Yeah. And I said, boys, we've got a chance here. He's going to score. He's got a chance here, because it was a perfect distance for him. And when we put it in, obviously we went mental. And then when the whistle went, I'd say, I'm not gonna lie to you, I probably remember after about 2 hours after that, and then the rest of it would be a blur because we all obviously had loads of drinks and stuff at the stadium, and we kicked on into town. But we just had such a good group that, I mean, we're speaking about how good the group was last night and how close we were, and how honest they were. Everyone was honest, and it was not, we had no egos. I was saying we won the league that season. We had one player in the team of the year. That was Ian Hart. And I was always raging with that because I felt so many more of our players deserved that. And I don't mean me. I mean like the likes of Joby, Casper's Gawks, who I thought was fantastic that season. Ledge was unbelievable. These boys, and even Robbo came halfway through. He made a big difference to it. So I remember the night we had a great night, to be fair. But also we also knew that we had the league to win, though. That was the thing. Once we knew we'd won the league. And Brian went through it last night, and he went through the 2 losses we had after Christmas, and one of them was the last game of the season. And I was like, whoa, you can't count that game. I said, I don't think there was a sober player from our side on the pitch that day. So I remember going to Birmingham, the inflatables and whatnot. I made it special, and I remember the gaffer going, "No, you're not coming on today. You just go enjoy it." So that was it for me. I was like sitting there just enjoying the moments and stuff. But that night was incredible. I mean, to go a full year from, if you turn back probably 12 months, a little under, maybe 11, maybe probably 13 months with the playoffs, going from feeling the worst in football. And I've had a few of them feelings in terms of like losing finals. I've never won a final. I've been involved in 4 at that point, including the playoff final. That was the lowest of the low I've been in football. Take away injuries, to then turn it around a year later, which has never been done before. It was never done that someone who got beaten in the playoffs won the league the year after. It was a kind of thing that was spoke about, never being able to. No one was ever able to do it. So for us, it kind of it grinded on us, if that made sense. That we had a record of our own to catch, because we were never gonna beat or be the 106 team, which were incredible. But to have something of our own, like I think it made us that more hungry.
When did you start believing? Because we didn't start the season very well. It was like a hangover from the playoffs, wasn't it? And then kind of we're on that crazy run. So how many points out of we won? But it was insane, wasn't it? It was kind of like this whole momentum change.
I mean, again, the coaches last night got to see Brian McDermott's story and snippets into his life of the manager, the player, the manager, and whatnot. I looked at it last night. We were second bottom. Doncaster were underneath us. We'd played 6. We'd 4 points, maybe 3. And we just play. I remember the game before we played Doncaster. I think it was Watford. We've been outplayed. We've been outplayed, outrun, and it wasn't us, So the gaffer, we had a meeting. I had an emergency meeting 5 games in, and it wasn't a a point the finger. It was when, listen, guys, this can't happen. They put the stats up of Watford, the running stats, and they gave the running stats of us in the game, and they'd covered probably, I'd say, probably 8-9K in the game more, 7-6K in the game more than us, which was so uncharacteristic. And obviously coming from the hangover, I think it's important that when you look back on the playoff season, I think if there was another 8 games, we would have won. We would have been promoted in the top 2, because we were getting on the road. We had been on a good run of games, and we'd got ourselves in good form. And I said that you sometimes forget what got you there. All you remember is the good times, the goals scored, a block off the line. You don't remember how much blood, sweat, and tears, togetherness, not arguments, but hard conversations on the pitch to people to do their job. you don't remember all that, and so you think the next season comes around that you're going to go again, you're going to go out and you're going to play, and you think it's easy. It's not. So we had to get back to basics, and that was the main message of it: get back to basics. But the one thing we promised in the room was that we'd never be outrun again, and it stuck with us, And then Bry talks about the WNG, to win the next game. That we had the mentality. We didn't look anywhere past the next game. We just looked at what we had the next game, who we had, and what we had, and we went and attacked it. So we didn't take the focus on looking down the line. I think I had this conversation again last night, saying about a couple of seasons when Bry came in, the boys went on a good run. I was injured when Bry came in, and the boys went on a good run after Christmas. We ended up finishing 8th or 9th in the league. The same happened the year after with the playoffs. So we ended up having a good run to the playoffs. So we knew if we got to the corner after January that we would have a really good chance, no matter where we were, of climbing the table with a good speed. And there was only, I think we were 12th in the league, but we looked at between us and second, there wasn't an awful lot. I think there might have been 8 or 10 or 12 or 13 points, whatever it was. We saw it as no distance at all. And the way the games fell, it was almost like every game we played gave it was an incentive anyway to win games. But it was almost like it played out that we'd leapfrog them or get closer to them, and then we'd leapfrog them. And whenever we played, we'd get past and jump past, or we create a gap against. So the fixtures are really kind in terms of a mentality thing.
Especially when you're doing well, I'd imagine. When you're not doing so well, it goes the other way, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Now you have it. And I remember we spoke about it last night, that we got an unbelievable confidence about us when we didn't have the ball. Everyone knew what they were going to do. Everyone knew what they had to do. And Bry said, we became a really strong team later on in games, and we counter-attacked throughout the first half. But then when we sat and let teams enjoy the ball, we knew what we were doing. We knew how we were going to attack. We knew where to exploit. And at that time, we had pace. We had obviously Robbo came in. I was up there. We had Jimmy on the right. You had Joby on the left. You had Hal to come on when he did. And we had fullbacks that could get forward and supply. So we knew that we had pace in the team. And then obviously when you get somebody like Alfie in the team, who just came on to finish off games and score goals, it's magic. It was the perfect formula for us.
Yeah. Ewan, can I bring you in? You've been waiting patiently.
Yeah, no, we're moving away from that season. It's just about what a question from a young Reading fan, Jamie from Woodley. He's asked, what was the main reason you went into coaching?
The main reason I went into coaching was I got an injury at Reading, funny enough. After coming back from internationals, I got an injury against West Brom away, which kept me out for a year. I knew it was a year long. It was an operation on my knee. And Brendan was the manager when this happened. So he had me going watching games. He had me doing reports. But then within that, Eamon Dolan had brought me down to the academy because I couldn't train in the day. And because I was that kind of a player, I'd be in early doors. I'd be in at say 8 o'clock, before 8 o'clock. I'd go do gym sessions. I'd do my work early. I'd go have breakfast. I'd then see the physios. I'd do more rehab. I'd go back to the gym. I'd have a PT in the evening because I wanted to come back better than where I was when I left. And he said, but in that, you need some football. You need to get football into you. So the academy came around. I jumped down with Eamon, and I was going and watching coaching sessions. And I remember being with funny enough, who I'm working with now, Peter Scott, who was doing at the time the 14s, going watching him. Sweets is still there. Ryan Williams at the time was there. And I'd go in and join in and watch and do a couple of sessions and get a feel for it. And I really enjoyed it. But we went away to America. I was asked to go to be an ambassador for the football club, which I loved, in the States. With that, the under 17s / 18s were going to play a tournament over there for a week. That week turned into a month with the ash clouds, and we got stranded out there.
Right.
So you got to think, we had Eamon Dolan, we had David Dodds, we had loads of academy staff that were there, and we had young kids like Jordan Ibiza was with us, and Ujak Kize, and all these young players, young pros, and we got stuck for a month. So every day we coached, we done a bit, and Eamon was so good. He was so good to me, and so generous with all his time, and he was so much fun. I mean, he was just so much fun. So I loved going down to the environment that he created. I loved going into the office where he had all these people working in sync, but he would cause carnage with one comment, and with one comment, there'd be a huge spark of an outburst. But then he'd calm it then again by doing something completely random. And I totally off topic, and everyone really bought into what he saw. And I think, to be honest, I feel that it's coming back now, with Jukesy, how he's running, the academy. It's a massive job. I think he's been incredible. For me, coming in, and seeing how he works and how everyone in the office works. I mean, together. There's such a good buzz in there at the moment, and there's so much good things going on. That it's a real joy, and it's an honor to be there, So that was the reason I got into coaching, because of that. I think that trip hooked me, and I always stayed close with Eamon after that. So wherever I went playing football, not Leeds, but after that, likes of Ipswich, I'd go watch the 18s train. Portsmouth, I watched the 18s and try to do a little bit. Wigan, I was going down most afternoons to see if I could do bits with him. So Gregor Rajah there was unbelievable to me. He was like, just keep coming down, keep getting involved, keep seeing if you like it. I was working with really good boys like John Craney and stuff, who had really good outputs and visions into the game, So I kind of built up over time that I really wanted to do it. I always thought then at the end of it, I'd like to be a coach. I like helping people. I like helping players. I think I can see where players need to work and try helping with that as well. I think the looks of the boys we have now. I think working with Peter Scott every day, he's incredible. The detail he puts into his information. Also working with us is Eddie Nizwicki, who's an incredible coach, an incredible guy, but an incredible coach, and we work really well together. And then off the back of that, I'm working with Ledge and Michael Donaldson, who we work in, we on the same desk. We work at the side of the pitch together. We talk and integrate players who we think is going to come up, who we think is worth a chance because they've worked hard and they've shown some real progress. So all the conversations and all the characters and personalities are really bonding and binding together, which is what I remember it being at when I was here before, And
what kind of specialists kind of setup have you got? Running coaches?
Oh, listen, absolutely. So in my department, obviously I've got Scotty and Eddie are coaches. And Eddie then is head of player development, come up and down, through the first team with myself. And to be fair, we all do it, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. We all do it. I've got a sports scientist. We've got physio, 2 physios that are there all the time. One with me, Keane, is a great guy. We've got who else we got there? I've got an analyst. So it's important. So the departments, I mean, the way it was before, how it's run now, the department and what's expected of the academy, the personnel has to be catered for, So we have all the help we need in terms of the basics that we need and the fundamentals that we need. Absolutely. Could we do it more? Of course we could. But it doesn't matter because we all chip in and muck in and we're all together on it. So I mean, we got a match tomorrow against Swansea. I just said to the analyst, like, I'll do all the visuals. So he'll prep the video, I'll clip it, and I'll put in how we're going to play against Swansea, defensively attacking our rotations, what we're going to do, how we're going to try exploit them, that kind of stuff. So we all muck in, and he'll help me with different things as well. So it's a great environment and the people are great.
Yeah. And so the form at the moment is quite good, isn't it? 4 wins and 2 losses. So what's the sort of target for the rest of the season?
It's the target is still to get in the playoffs. We've got 2 games in hand on Millwall. Granted, we've lost. I know we've lost players. Obviously, players are going out on loan. A couple of players have been injured for us. We've got 3 or 4 now involved in the first team. Obviously Kelvin E, Kelvin A, both of them came on last night. And Nelson has been up there as well. So these are massive players for us. That it's about their development. So I'm a sore loser. And the guys know I love winning. I love learning how to win. I want to win. And you go through. We had a couple of games in there, against Brentford and whatnot that we won. Where the boys have been in a really good vein of form, and just it's about them developing as young adults, maturing, maybe maturing physically. It might be mental. Which is probably the biggest thing for me. The mentality of a young professional these days is so important. Because right now, every young player in an academy will have no excuses. They've got no excuses. They've got everything they need. They've got gyms that are 100 square foot with every machine that you need to be a professional athlete. You've got dietitians. We've got nutritionists. They tell you what to eat, how to eat, when to eat, where to eat. So there's no reason why you can't be in a peak condition to be a professional athlete. So we speak a lot about this is an unbelievable opportunity, this football club. Where we are, how we're based, the setup they have, who we are, the history behind the club. And we want to keep pushing these young players forward as much as we can, but they have to take the steps themselves as well. And some of them get it really quickly, but then all of a sudden, you get a player like Kelvin Abrefa for me, and I think it was probably the middle of November, and I said to Scotty, he goes, the penny's dropped with him. He knows it. He's changed and he's grown and he's matured, and how he now goes about his business and work and training is he's a 24/7 pro,
Yeah.
And then off the back of that, you get Nelson then joining in. And then you get, Kelvin E going, oh, I want a bit of that. So they start, becoming together. And the next one then will be Jay Senge, maybe Roshan Scott, all these boys. But I'm saying, listen, that's great that the mental side of the penny's dropped. Now for me, Kelvin E, I'm saying, right, okay, Kelvin E, you're 6'3". You have to become that number 9 that's reliable. The ball comes up, you pin it, it sticks. You can run in behind, you score goals. Okay, you're a platform for the team, first and foremost, where you get it down, you find the blue shirt, and you get away from it, and you make runs, and you be a nuisance to defenders. Horrible to play against. You're 6'3", go win headers. At the start of the season, he was quite timid and didn't really like the idea of getting in between the posts to get hurt to score a goal. Whereas now he's got 13 goals for us. And he does put himself in there, and he's starting to understand the meaning of it, how important it is to be that focal point. I'm saying to him, you've got unbelievable professionals at the football club who are really good people. The likes of Shane Long, probably one of the best human beings you meet. Andy Carroll, he's made to learn off of. You go speak to him, you pick his brain, you talk to him, they'll help you. So we're trying to give them all these little environments and little helps along the way, but then it comes down to the moment where they take that step themselves, and have that self-confidence to go and say, yeah, I belong here. I can do a job for the team. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, I had that question leading on from that is what's the sort of biggest barrier to stop a player who's got the potential, do you think, at the moment?
Oh, listen, potential is great.
Yeah.
Potential is great. But if you can't run, if you can't fight, if you can't compete, in all aspects of the game, that kind of compete mentally, physically, you guys, we know what the championship's like. We know what the championship's like. It's a relentless. It's what we are. We've got a saying at the club where it's resilient, ruthless, relentless Royals. We're Reading. It's all them things, the championship. But first and foremost, you gotta be able to run. You got to be able to work hard for the team. You've got to be reliable in the position that you play in. So whether you're a fullback or a central midfielder or a centre forward or a centre back, you have to be reliable and you have to do your job really well, first and foremost, before you even look at other people. And they get that now. They're starting to get that they can't be just running here and there. They have to be position specific. There's a structure to it. So that's what we try to do. I think my end of the field is, I had this conversation last year when I came in, and Josie's like, listen, I want us to learn in a winning environment. That's what I want. I need us to be able to learn in a winning environment. I said, no problem. Well, I can do that, you know, and it's getting the small wins first, you know, in players, their positions, their technique, their understanding of the game, tactically, their understanding of their body technically, what they're good at, where the positions they pick up, the angles they come at, all these little things. And it's, it ties in so importantly to have, for me, the biggest thing that'll stop these boys is mentality, because there's so many distractions out there, so many things to do. You know, you've got people making millions off TikTok. You've got guys on Instagram, what I call it Insta-sham, because I think it's a sham, but you never see the real life on these things. You know, you see these skills that kids are doing. It'll take them 1,000 takes to do it. They'll do it and get 1 million likes. End up with £250,000 in their back pocket, and they can't kick a ball. It's not the real world, you know. So it's not the hard graft. People don't see how many hours, how many times they have to do these things and set them up. So for me, the mentality is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, and that's what nowadays, with all the distractions there is, social media, you know, one thing and another, the players are going to be thrown off course time and again, and they turn up for training. And how do you keep their minds on it as young players with the opportunity they've got?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we have to be quite strict with them, because they are young boys at the end of the day. They are, you know, with me, 18, 19, 20, you know, there's not many older than that, you know. And like I said to you, you get the ones like, you see the ones like Kelvin A now coming focused, and they're in early and they're doing their bits, and you just see little traits in them, you know, that improve, and you just got to keep telling them, guys, you know, this gym is not open. It's not just open from like 10 o'clock till 3. You know, it's open at 8 o'clock when we come in here. We're in here in the office for 8 o'clock. We don't start training till 11. You know, we're in the office before, you know, at 8 o'clock, and we're planning and trying to figure out our sessions and whatnot for the players we have. I said, but you can do that as well. You could be in the gym here. You know, you could do the extras. So I'd say to our boys, you only get so much for on the pitch. It's what you do off it as well that's gonna make you a career, and potentially will only get you so far. Your character will make you a career. So it's how strong a character you are. That's the thing, and how many times you can get hit and keep moving forward. You know.
No, sorry, just to do you find it frustrating when you've got a young player who's got the ability but hasn't got what you said, that mental strength, or that? How many chances do you give, or how do you kind of? This is
the thing. Yeah, you're right, and that it's a great question, Johnny. It really is. My job is to try. You got to keep trying. You got to keep trying, you know. And if you have these guys, you got to keep trying to probe and find a way to get through to them. Because if you don't, who will? You know, you could be missing out on the next Michael Olise.
Yeah.
You know, so the ones that have potential, and you'll know, and listen, what we're doing is, when we came in, we set boundaries and we set standards. And I said, right, this is the standards. If you give away the ball, you run after it. You don't stand and watch. The minute you stand and watch, I'll take you off the football pitch. Because I'm not going to stay here and have somebody give away the football and expect their mates to go get it for them. You know, because that's not right. So we had a game last year. I won't tell you the player, and I played him. And at half time, and this is a part of their growing up as well. You know, it's a part of their growing up. At half time, we came in at half time in this game, and we were 1-0 down. And one of the players we had, you know, didn't do it. He didn't do anything. He gave away the ball every time he got it, and he stood and watched. Or nearly every time we got it, but we had only two at that time. We had only a couple of subs on the bench because the 16s and the 18s were playing, and we'd fallen short the day before with a couple of injuries, so we thought, right, we'll just go with what we have. So at half time, I got the boys to pick him up. I got I got Nelson Abbey, Kelvin the Breath. I go, let's go pick him up. Pick him up. So they went and picked him up, and he's a big boy. I said, right, let's go play the second half. And they're like trying to put him down. I said, no, keep carrying him. I said, because you've done it for the whole first half. You've carried this player for the whole first half, and not one of you, I said, has been mature enough to go, hey, come on, do your job, help us out here. So what's going to happen? There's going to be two things happen. I said, either A, you keep carrying him and we drown as a team and we lose the game, or you drop him and say, you know what, carry yourself or get off the field. I goes, and this is we boys, when people ain't doing it for you on the football pitch, you have to be strong enough to tell them, hey, come on, you can do better. There's ways of telling people to be better. You don't have to go, oh, that's rubbish, you're this, that, and the other. That doesn't work. I think you have to tell him in the right way. I said, but you have to tell him. He needs to know, that you're dependent on him to do his job, and he's not. Therefore, we can't do our jobs. So I said, I'm trying to give you a lesson. I don't want to just take him off, because I want you to be able to go, because there will be games, there will be times where people are having bad games, and you need to speak to them. You need to tell them, listen, dig in. I know you're not, it's not running for you, but keep going for us. It'll come for you. But the minute they stop running, then you've got to say, listen, oi, what are you doing? Yeah. So having that maturity from an 18, 19-year-old, because when they go into a first team environment, and this is what I'm prepping them for, we're prepping them for, I'm not prepping them to go back into an academy where it's paint by numbers and it's in front of you, and there's different objectives for the young professionals. I'm trying to teach these boys the sharp end of the career, the cutthroat end of the career, because after us, there's not many. If they don't deal with us, there's not many branches left in professional football. You have to. You want them to be a first team footballer for us first and foremost, for the football club, and if not, then for somebody else's first team. So it's important that they understand that, like, we have a wall. We've got a great corridor of wall where all of our debutants are there from back in the early 2000s, all the way through, up to our most recent one, which is probably, I think, might have been Nels or Kelvin or wherever it is. Actually, I know it is Basil. So, but I'll go, lads, look where they are now. There's so many boys on this wall here that are not in football anymore, that didn't have a career in football, but played in the first team once. I said, so one game doesn't make you a career.
And why is that, Noel? Why is that when you get these guys that, they get to that point and then it just, is that mental strength? I use that word, or is it just opportunity?
I think it depends. This is it. Maybe, I mean, the stats to be a professional footballer are so small. From the numbers that play football, Johnny. And then from there, it might be opportunity. It might be a case that a wrong decision from the player, wanting to leave and go playing, thinking that he can get more money somewhere else, or it might be from the club just saying, well, we've got two fullbacks, or we've got two centre halves in that position, we don't need one right now. So it's I think 99% of the time it's a mentality where they get in the first team, they play a game, and they go, I've cracked it.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want to do. We don't let them think they've cracked it, And I always say to young players where I was involved with first teams, because I had young Scott Twine, who's at Burnley now, when I was at Swindon, and he's a great kid. I said, listen, you're not a first team player yet. You've only played 20 times. You need to be at least 150 times in the first team before you're a first team player. I knew he was a first team player, but I wanted him, and he was that kind of a kid where he was that hungry. He'd be out early in the morning practicing free kicks, practicing his shooting. We'd do a hardest session in the world. He'd stay out after practicing free kicks, practicing shooting. And I said, look, he's the one. All he's got to do now is his body's got to catch up, and he's got to fill out, because he still looked like a 16-year-old at 19, but he had an incredible talent of work rate and technique on his shooting. So he just worked on it, and I kept on saying to him, you're not a first team player yet, Tony, not yet. You got another 70 games to go. you know. And I think kind of them kind of messages, if he's the right kind of a kid, the right mentality, because you got to think we are the elite. You know, Championship is one of the most elite leagues in the world, along with the Premier League, Serie A, Bundesliga, the French league, some of the teams. But then you look at the Championship next. You know, Spain, Italy, but then you look at the Championship as the next best, for me, league in the world.
It's an insane league.
It's incredible, and it's the maddest league. It's relentless. It's draining. It's hard, and there's no easy games. There's no easy games.
That's another question from me is on the first team basis, where do you think we'll end up at the end of the season?
Listen, for me, when all this came about and coming through the summer, everybody was saying, anybody that I spoke to outside the football club, were saying, if we stay up, it's a miracle. After everything that happened, the points deduction, the embargo, the slashing of the bills, the wage bills, everybody was saying, no, if we stay up, it's a miracle. And I really do not think the goalposts change from that. You know, and listen, I know we had a great start, you know, brilliant, but there's always going to be this period in the season where we do pick up injuries. You know, but we knew that. You know, I think deep down everybody knew that. We had to recruit, and to be fair to the gaffer, to Al, to Brian Carey, to Mark. You know, I think they've done an incredible job, guys. Now, I don't want to get wrapped up in the bubble of, or we're not playing this, that. I think the last 3 games we've played really well. I think Joe made 2 good saves against Blackburn, but I think in the last 3 games we've been really, really good. And I spoke to Alex and the gaffer yesterday or the day before, and I said, look, it's just them small details are going against us right now. The character in the dressing room is top class. You know what they've built in there, and I think the way they've gone about it in terms of when the budget gets shot at that, you can't buy football players with no character. They don't exist. If you have a good football player with a good character, he's not available at the end of the season. And if he is available, we can't afford him right now. You know, in my eyes, that's my view. So that's how I see it. I think we've done. You know, I think we stay up. I think we've got some big games coming up, but I just go back to win the next game. You know, focus the next game, which is Hull on Saturday. I've got full confidence in the boys to get a good result. And I've never wavered from that. You know, I've never wavered from the gaffer's job is so hard. You know, in terms of what we've had to do, how we have to do it, and if we've got to do it the hard way, we do it the hard way. You know, no problem. And I think us as a football club, as a community-based football club with a massive pulling of everyone in Reading, I think we just got to get behind that and back it and get this season out of the way with a championship, championship standing beside us. Yeah.
What kind of process do you have with the first team? With players go up into the first team, they're on the bench, they might play, you know, from the start or half time, that sort of thing. They come back down. You know, what kind of meetings and chats go on? Because Paul Ince said about that there's players knocking on his door saying, I should be in the first team, give me a chance. And then they're on the bench and they get the chance. And I know he gets put into that spotlight in the media after a game, and it's coming off the top of his head, I suppose. But that sort of process and meetings that you can influence him to say, give this boy a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I go up there probably every morning, to be honest, because obviously they the numbers will change for the guys every morning. So I think Kelvin E, Nelson, Jay's been up with them a few times and stuff. Roshan goes across, and they get plenty of opportunities to go up there. And I'm saying to our boys, listen, you go up there, you make a mark. That's not the time to go into your shell. You go up there, if you make your mark up there, you'll stay up there. But it is, and this is where it's always been this way, where it's been transitional. It's been, you go up for a couple of days, you come back down, you go up, train for the week, you might play the game with us, you go back up, and it's all part of them, their development as well. So listen, yeah, I think especially last night, you see you got Nelson Abbey on the bench, you've got Kelvin A who came on, Kelvin E came on, obviously young Femi's coming through, you got Tom Holmes. So the academy, there's loads of academy players in this team, and we'll keep on trying to produce as many as we can and push as many as we can. But at the end of the day, the gaffer is the boss, and I trust what he says, and what he thinks. I can only give I'll give my listen. I think he's done really well. I thought Jay Senga for us the other day was exceptional in the game, and that was against Watford. But guys, it's a totally different ball game. It's a totally different ball game. It's a different level to go straight into a first team game from a 21s game. So little minutes here and there, build up the confidence, and whatnot, and keep pushing, keep striving to get there and get more minutes, get more time, get more opportunity. You see Michael Craig come on against Watford in the FA Cup. Obviously, Kelvin played. You see Michael Craig come on at Old Trafford and do well, get on the ball. So it's just, I think, guys, this season's a unique season. And big picture is staying in the league.
No, just a quick one on that, because I'm sure when you were playing, we had the old-fashioned kind of reserve teams. That gap from the under-21s to first-team football, do you think it's sometimes too much? And like the loans are good, but is there some? I know people talk about like Brentford, doesn't it have a B team?
Yeah,
kind of different structures and.
Yeah, spot on, Johnny. There's two ways to look at it. It's the development phase, and like I used to love the All Reserve League, because you could be playing against, and listen, you can still do it, because we played the first game of the season, and a lot of our boys were with the first team at the time, and they played in the Carabao Cup game, I think it was, and we played against Sheffield United that day, that morning up there. And we had, young Abraham Kanu, who was a first-year scholar. We had a first-year pro playing, a midfielder playing centre-half with him. We had a team of young scholars, so second-year scholars. And we had only a couple of pros playing, because the rest of them were with the first team, amazing. But they played against the likes of Ollie McBurney, John Fleck, and I don't know whoever the other one was, which is probably the bones of 40, 50 million pounds of players. And we got beat 2-0. And I was so devastated after the game, first game of the season, beat 2-0. And to be fair, jokes, he said to me, he looked at me and went, we got to be coming here and winning these games. And I went, yeah, right, I know. And he looked and started laughing at me. I went, hang on a minute. He goes, relax. He said, you're playing against, because I want to win every game. I want our boys to perform in every game. I was more disappointed with some of the individual performances from our older pros, because probably they weren't in the right mind frame, because they wanted to be with the first team like the rest of their buddies. And they kind of sulked about it through the game. And, it's a valuable lesson for them that they can't sulk. So in that game, we got beat 2-0, and we deserved to get beat because they're playing against good strikers, good players who were all in their own Sheffield United's first team. We played Coventry in mid-season. The boy Gustavo Hamer played, along with the wing back from Palace, who came on loan there with a forward, and we got beat 3-0. And in the game, there was nothing in it, just a bit of quality in the box that beat us, because we had just as good as chances as they had, just as many, if not more clear cut. So it's all learning for these boys. I was like, Abraham Kanu, you just played against Ollie McBurney, and I thought you were outstanding today. I thought you competed with him physically. You're 16 years or 17 years old. You matched his runs. He scored, but that's just a little bit of clever, experienced movement from him. I goes, what would you do next time? And he goes, I'd stay tight to him. I wouldn't even get the yard. Brilliant. That's learning.
Yeah.
In your head, So these little things, it's all magic. Now we haven't obviously. Listen, we played Millwall in the season. They had 3 or 4 first teamers. We had Andy Carroll and Yaku playing, for the game, and our boys got a great insight into the game. How to cross the ball, where to put it for Andy, Yaku's runs, where he wanted the ball, how he spoke to him, and what I've really enjoyed is having Lee Moore with us for a few weeks. Lee Moore is, obviously I know the story of Lee Moore, and I've got nothing but the utmost respect for the man. He is a top pro for me, and he wants to play and help. His information, how he speaks on the pitch with our young boys, for the 245s he played, he was incredible. And how he spoke to him, how he helped the boys along. And people like that are invaluable at this club in terms of that's the pros we have here. Like Scott Dan comes and trains every now and again with us, talking and helping the young ones. You know, it's invaluable for these boys to get that. You know, we don't have them for the games at the moment, which is not a problem. If anything, I'm trying to get as many as I can of our boys up to play in the games, you know, help them out, because we, you know, we are getting a couple of injuries here and there. We are a little bit thin on the ice as to speak with in terms of bodies in and around the first team, but we have got 3 or 4 ready to go. That makes sense if they're needed.
But you can't buy that experience and that knowledge to pass on as a young player, can you? From yourself, from Shane, from Andy. If they don't learn from that, you're not going to learn, are you? As a kid.
But it's not just me. You know, Peter Scott, you know, who I do the 2021s with. He's played 300, 400, 500 games for Fulham. You know, at the top. Ledge is in there with us. You know, and it's so good because a lot of the coaches there, there's pictures of us around our training ground with them as when they come in to meet the players and stuff, and they've been filmed and put up. Like, so like we got young Sam Wilson, who's a big lad, big strong boy, but he came in as like one of the ball boys, and he got a picture with Ledge when he was like 14 years old, you know, so it's up on the wall and stuff, and it's a great connection we have, you know. So all the experience goes through them, so we tell them stories, you know, we try to help them in their game with the 15s, the 14s, the 13s, whatever it is. And I think there's a really good vibe about it, but it comes from the boys in the first team building as well. You know, they come down, they're nice, they're good as gold with our lads. The way I remember it being that way. You know, I'm hearing the people saying, "No, it wasn't like this a few years ago." Well, let's get it back. If it worked, let's get it back.
Way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Reading way. I mean, there's no one too big to do the small jobs. You know, that's the way we always have been. It's massively important.
Ewan, I'll pass you back, and more questions from yourself.
Yeah, just on the sort of Irish connection and the scouting network that you've had over there over years. You mentioned Shane Long being a legend. Anyone in the team at the moment from the Emerald Isle that you think will make the grade?
You know what, we've because of Brexit, it's really killed, I think, football, and especially this year kills us a little bit because we've identified 3 or 4 players we could have gone and got, young players, for fractional minimum money. We all know it. And we would love to go and do something. We can't because obviously we're in embargo, which is fine, no problem. We've got Brian Carey in the building with Gerard, who's coming, and we've got obviously Brendan Flanagan who does the underage groups, who does an incredible job with the 8s to 15s. You know, he really is clever and good at what he does. In terms of that side of it, but I definitely want to get back out. I mean, I'm planning to get a trip into Ireland this season, hopefully, with our boys come pre-season if we can, to possibly get a few games against some of these teams where there is good players. And we've obviously got Keane out at Shelburne at the moment, who's doing okay. He's getting in there, and the team scored a winner in the Dublin Derby last week, and he's starting to find his feet. We've got Claudio gone to Cove. They get game time at men's football. But listen, I would like nothing more, and so would the club, like nothing more than to open up the channels in Ireland, because there's some unbelievable talent in Ireland and everywhere. But at the moment, unfortunately, with Brexit, how it works, they can't come over on YTS schemes now. They can't come over as scholars. They have to wait till they're 18. And by the time they're 18, you'd like to think that they're in and around League of Ireland clubs, knocking on doors. And then it gets a little bit more complicated because fees come into it. They see the money signs. I get it, you know. But we've got to keep looking and keep trying. And I think we're always trying to improve that side of it, you know.
Yeah, and sort of closer to home as well, just, you know, off the top of my head, you know, locally, do you do a lot of work with schools? Obviously, you've got the community and how players locally can come up through the ranks.
Yeah, our boys, listen, I need a phone call with Butch, who runs the JMA. It's long overdue. But we try to get out in the community. The boys try to get out in the community as much as they can. And listen, our underage ones are so good. Ryan Nevin and whatnot. I mean, Jamie Greenwood's in there, and he's running that down, you know, and the steps he's put in place with Phil and whatnot, the lead phases, it's really incredible. You know, it's so detailed, and they cover all these schools and all these football clubs. I think they're talking the other day, how do they expand? How do they get into these areas and this, and how do we get these kids, and how do we see if we get eyes on these? So they're always trying to see what the local talent is. So I do think, Reading, for me, has always had Reading boys, and that's what makes it special, I think, as well. Your homegrown players from around the area that come and do well for the football club. I think that's what makes it special for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's with the current squad, Holmes and McIntyre and people like that. But when I first watched, it was A.D. Williams and Stuart Lovell, the Phils and kind of things, and it's important to have that route in from the local school.
Well, A.D.'s never left, has he? He's stuck on the rafters most Saturdays shouting around.
And that's the thing, you've got A.D. Williams and good in making, the club, outside in the media. It's important, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, it is. Listen, at the end of the day, this football club's it's a brand, I think it's an incredible football club. I really do. I think it's a special football club. It's why I've always been drawn to it. I always spoke about the minute I walked up the steps, coming out of the dressing room was I think it was really the first time in my career where I went, wow, I feel like I'm home. I feel like this is it. And if I'm being honest, I probably would have stayed a lot longer as a player if I had been given the chance and maybe kept my mouth shut. But it's a different story. So yeah, it's for me. I think probably the last 15 years, the club's grown somewhat.
Yeah.
And I think now you don't go anywhere in the world without seeing a Reading shirt somewhere, which is great to see. And to think that we've everyone involved in the football club has contributed to that in some way is really, really good. Obviously, you're talking about Irish connections. I went home to Dublin. I was in Dublin last summer. I saw a random Reading shirt and I didn't think anything of it. But I should, to be fair, because obviously it's a Reading shirt in Dublin. Normally you get United, you get Liverpool, you get Leeds, and then you get the young kids with the Man City and the Chelsea shirts. But it was nice to see. So I think to grow the brand is huge.
No, I know. I was conscious of you needing to have a shower, mate, after your training. It's
been a long day, Johnny. I'm not going to lie. It's been a long day.
Mark's put in a question here, mate. So he said he spoke to someone who used to play with in Ireland called Peter Halpin. He said you're a bit mad, which is quite possibly true, and you need to do somersaults after scoring goals. Maybe not so much now as a coach. Ask where you learned how to do it, and when you were younger, is it you jumped off roofs to do that? Is that correct?
Yeah, it really, actually, it's really, yeah. I hear myself now say, yeah, it's true, because it was. I've got two young girls now, honestly. One has just turned 7. And my youngest is 4, turning 5 in the summer, and she's a lunatic. So I phoned my mum and I'm like, Mum, what do I? She goes, no, I don't care. I don't care, because whatever they're doing is nothing compared to what you used to do. She said, so how you're not dead? She says, how you're not dead now, or I'm not dead now from fright. She goes, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. They'll be fine. And I'm like, right, okay. So she won't even. She's like, she just doesn't acknowledge it anymore, because she goes, I nearly gave her that many nervous breakdowns. I used to run across a roof of a house, and flip off it and stuff, and try land. I'd try out jump the car parking space, so the car will park underneath us. So I jump out over the car, and one day I slipped. And I ended up falling onto the car and getting a bit of a sore bump. But yeah, it was just things I used to do as a kid. But it was one of them things I flipped. It was one of them things when I flipped, I didn't know I'd done it. I hadn't really figured out what I'd just done. And I guess it was one of them things that if you didn't do it right, you'd only do it once.
You're still here.
Because I'd done it, I thought that was pretty cool. I could do that again. And I just started doing it. And I thought, okay, I didn't. very bored back in them days, Johnny. I was a country boy. My nearest neighbour was like 2 miles away. I was just, you know what I mean, climbing trees and jumping off roofs. That's all I could do.
This is now payback time for you with your little ones, is it?
Yeah, it is. To be fair, my little 7-year-old, she loves football, and it's come out of the blue. So she's going to be mascot this weekend for the girls' game.
Oh, brilliant!
She's playing local where I am now, and they're all going, oh, you know, your daughter, she's really quick. I was like, she's not quick. She's 6 years old or 7. You know, she was 6 at the time because she's 6. She's not quick. She's 6 years old. But when I see her against 6-year-old girls, she's actually quite. She's really fast. So I thought, oh, she's got a chance. You know what I mean? She's quite quick. So it's good to see.
Brilliant. No, we're going to let you go. I just want to say one thing as well. I know a friend of mine, Connor Hogan, came over last week, and you guys were so nice to him at the training ground, and made him so welcome as part of the Reading family. And I think sometimes the club gets a bit of a bad press, but I think that was a huge thing for him after the experience he had at Man United, and it meant the world to him. So just to say thank you to you and the club, because
it was lovely to have him. And like, the club, that's the way the club was, John. You know that the club was always like that. People just walked in at times. You know, a great guy. I remember he come away. I brought him into the analysis room. He watched the analysis of the game. We done a little bit on the game, and he came in and sat at the back of the room. But lovely guy. I was really ashamed what happened at Old Trafford. You know, but hopefully that we made it some way better.
Still buzzing. Really.
But I think all the first team boys made a fuss of him as well, which is great.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Is the Reading way, wasn't it? As we say, like that's what we were about. I mean, we're getting back there. I can even just hear in your voice talking about your role and the time you've had at the club in this role, how much you're buzzing on it. So best of luck for the rest of the season.
Appreciate it.
And and what's your just before we go, what's your ambition from here in your role now? Where do you see
in terms of me?
You and the under 23s and
listen, it's so crazy because you look through it and we've got some really exciting groups coming through the academy, and I mean really exciting groups in terms of players that are coming up from the next stages and the stages below. So for me, I want to perfect what I'm doing. I love winning. That I love, and that's not just winning games, it's winning with players as well, making players better, helping players understand the game better. And I think if you improve the person, the player, you'll improve the team. So for me, I wanna make sure that I really get that right. Knowing players, knowing what makes players tick, knowing what makes teams tick and work, systems of play and whatnot, and go from there. I've had a taste of obviously first team football with Swindon in terms of we won the league. Went to Doncaster then, and it was a difficult time for me and Rich, and then Rich left. And that's when I decided I was too far away from home and I wanted to come back. I was away 6 days a week, so I came back, and obviously this job came up. I went straight for it as quickly as I could, so I just want to see where it gets me, how I develop, and hopefully get back there one day. But I've got no rush. I've got no intention of doing it. I'm focused on our job we have now in terms of our young players coming through the system. And who knows, in 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line, I get a shot at it. Great, great.
You're doing a great job. It's great to have you back as part of the club.
I appreciate that. It's great to be here.
And it's great to hear you talk, and for you to come on and talk to us as well. So just to say thanks to Noel, thanks Ewan for stepping in.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant.
Ewan, if you have any players over in Ireland you want to send across, mate, let us know.
Yeah, I'll ask Paddy to keep an eye out.
You must have a couple of goalkeepers in that Gaelic football team.
Absolutely, yeah.
So just to round up, we've got Leroy Lita coming on the podcast, and that'll be available from Saturday at 10 a.m. Noel, enjoy your shower. Hopefully catch you again soon.
Well,
it's been a pleasure.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, see you Saturday.
1871 podcast. Take care.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Noel.
Thanks.